make Galway big-time contenders this season?
No. Sorry now to disappoint you there, Joanne, but it's a step in the right direction. I think last week there was progress made, further progress today, but we've seen this so many times in the past from Galway. The good day and unfortunately the bad days come afterwards, right? It's time for them to keep their feet on the ground, right? People will be talking about young Mannion, they'll be talking about Joe Canning back to his best, right? There is still massive room for improvement there, but you've got to give them credit. They came with a game plan today. They snuffed out the threat of the Dublin full forward line. They worked it very, very hard back in defence. They tackled, they harried it. And that's the basics of hurling. And Eddie will tell you, he wouldn't get his game on the Kilkenny team if he didn't work his socks off. He's at number 13 or he's at number 15 or he's number 14. That's where it starts. And today they did that very, very efficiently. And they tied it in then, breaking from defence, a bit like we see with Clare, a bit with Waterford and stuff like that. The key thing was get the ball forward as quick as we can then, right? We win it, get it forward, and you had an inside line that absolutely destroyed Dublin. I think they got 5-14, 5-7 from play, 7 points from frees by Jason Flynn. A massive, massive performance. Not there yet, but a step in the right direction.
But saying massive improvement, isn't that very harsh when Liam Sheedy called it the complete performance?
Yeah, I don't know what I agree with that synopsis. Yeah, it's very hard when a match has...
Jumping up and down now, but there's no need for that. I think when you win or when you lose or when you draw, you know, there's very little difference. You know, the last day there was very little wrong with our performance. You know, there's tidying up to do and there's improvement. And it's the same when you win. You have to look at where you want to improve from there.
This hurt today, I suppose, and this hurt all of us, I suppose, from that performance today. Wasn't what we were expecting, wasn't what we were hoping for. So, a bit of reflection, I think, from the point of view of what went wrong. But again, sometimes you've got to react to defeats. We've all been involved in dressing rooms where we've had defeats and had bad defeats, and we've no choice, Matty, but to turn it around.
All right, then, let's have a look at the Leinster semi-final lineup in hurling. Galway will play Laois. Kilkenny will take on Wexford. That's at Nolan Park. All right, then. So many talking points out of that one. Great win for Galway, really important win for them. Was it great Galway? Was it disappointing Dublin? How would you reflect on it, Anthony?
A fair bit of both, but I'd say probably more disappointing Dublin. These days seem to transcend from nowhere at times. I've been involved, I feel for Gerard Eyre, you know, because I've been involved in days where, for some reason, they just don't show up, and that was one of those days. I mean, conceding 5 goals to Galway, you can't win if you concede 5 goals, really, unless it's a very funny match. And
are you saying that's a bit of a Dublin trait?
I don't, yeah, like, I mean, sure, look, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We shouldn't really be. They probably had a chance to kill it off last week in Croke Park and should have killed it off and didn't do it, and now find themselves in the depths of despair, I suppose, today and trying to pick up the pieces. All right,
well, from the very start, you felt on Logue, the body language, it was clear Dublin weren't on full speed.
Yeah, I was looking at the tapes of the game this morning. I wasn't at the game, and I think the first thing I saw here, if you look at Alan Nolan and Paul Schutte, they're the players that are highlighted. Look at Schutte here, he's going in a championship game, and the ball's after being thrown in. It's almost something like that you'd see happening at an underage game, and I think that was kind of, you know, if anything, that summed up Dublin. Couple of things as well. Early days, I thought Alan Nolan could have done better with his puck outs. If you look at Chris Crummy, he was available here for that one.
Left, yeah.
Highlighting the man. Now, you could say it is high risk at times to do that, right? But you're much better off, especially against the wind, in terms of just trying to gain possession. You see here again, and that happened a couple of times. It was really a pattern of the game. And especially for players out the wing, it's much less risk. And the thing about Alan Nolan is he's well able to do it. But if you see here, at times, even when Dublin did it, the money ball was to come back up the wing and work it through the lines. But here, making the fatal mistake of pucking the ball into the opposition.
And it's not like McCartan to do that. Like, he would be a very, very calm player, and he would see the man outside him and use him. It's not like him to do that. And just didn't seem tuned in for the day. And if you're not tuned in for days like that, I mean, Galway are the type of team that can destroy you.
And they did that, Anthony. It was complete stark contrast, wasn't it? The pace at which they started and the goals.
Yeah, I think even Anthony Cunningham's interview before the game, like, he was really up for it, and right from the off, like, but I couldn't believe the way Galway set up, but massive like space into that Storm and Tullamore, not to have an extra man back, I think was suicidal. And Colin Mannion, like, is on fire at the moment, a contender for Young Player of the Year already. I mean, he has set the championship by storm, and he gets a run on Paul Shoot Hero. Clearly, to me, like, didn't look fit, and great finish to the bottom corner.
He was injured.
Yeah, well, he was out for last week, and again, like, look at the space. And this is a team defending into a massive wind and leaving that sort of space. And Mannion, the speed he showed last week, getting 3 points, and again, great finish across the body of the goalkeeper, and that's a fantastic thing. And again here, Galway varied their puck outs. Colin Cannon, fantastic, hit Cyril Donlan with a good lot of short ones, but obviously we saw the signal here. He says he's going long, route one, had worked on it, no Peter Kelly there to shore it up. Ball breaks through, Mannion lightning sharp again onto it. And again, look, they're full of class. They're all able to hurl. What a score this is. Jason Flynn out in front, slips, has the presence of mind to see Aidan Hart coming over his shoulder. What a flick. Like,
ball,
I mean, if these guys get their mental side of it right, they're capable of winning the All-Ireland. If they can get back to the mentality of 212, they'll rattle anybody in this championship.
Well, Donlogue, as a goalkeeper who obviously watches defences closely, what did you make of the Dublin defence there? I mean, Anthony saying they should have had a sweeper.
In lots of situations, Des, I thought it was like you could call some of us schoolboy. In my opinion, it needs radical surgery. Look at this situation here. You've got 3 Dublin half-backs making their way back towards the goals. The minute the ball breaks the line, all of those players shouldn't be thinking about their outside men. It's the job of the midfielders and the half-forwards to come in and cover them and allow your cornerback come towards the player, in this case, Joe Canning, and to cut him off. Alan Nolan has no option but to come out and try and tackle him. To try and illustrate what we're talking about here we see a situation with Dublin and the Galway players. It's not exactly the same situation, but it's similar. Here you see them working really hard to get back into position, and John Hanbury scatters back, if you like, and works the ball out really well.
By contrast, as you know, I think a bit of the Dubs is low on confidence at that stage of the game and maybe afraid. We see Conor Lehane here against Waterford, 7 Waterford guys saying, OK, we give away the free, but by God, you're not getting in for the goal. And like a team playing on, I think, you know, by the time Joe made that run, the match was over effectively, score-wise. And the guys are so low on confidence, they're watching their own men, where the Waterford guys are just saying, this is our system, this is what we play to, we're going to stick to our system, you're not getting in for a goal here. And 7 surround him. You know, and it's a credit to the way they're playing.
It certainly is.
But that's basic defending. Like, I remember being taught about that when I was a kid. It was described as a wheel that you rotate around all of the time, and you always protect the most important area, which is the square.
But if one guy lets that drop, you know, if one guy doesn't do his part in the wheel, the whole wheel breaks apart. And unfortunately, at that stage of the game, with such a weak start, the Dubs were devoid of confidence at that stage.
That's what you've learned tonight. Every player is a spoke. But the penalties was the big talking point as well. I mean, Dublin particularly. It's a whole change now in the penalty setup to one-on-one, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of experts early in the year told us this would be a duck shoot with these penalties, you know. But I've seen about 10 of them competitively now in the last while, and they're not being scored.
How many were scored?
I think about 3. David Tracy goes for broke here. He goes for the blaster to the top corner. If it goes in, it's unsavable, but it's high risk. And, you know...
Well, what should he have done?
I think low to the corner is the way to go, and we saw Patrick Horgan earlier on, guys, and that's the perfect one. Ryan O'Dwyer works another penalty here, to be fair to him, uses his experience. Dublin bring on Paul Ryan, his first puck of the game. I mean, this is a good effort, to be fair. That's a fantastic save by Colin Cannon. He was on fire yesterday. You see it again. I mean, he does most things right. It's low, it's away from the keeper. It's a tremendous save.
Just one thing I want you to look at here. Could Brian Gavin be in any worse position, right? And I was looking at the tapes. That was the first penalty. This is the second. If you picked the worst position for the referee to be standing, he's in the way of the goalkeeper if it goes out. He's in the way of the attackers if they come in. But anyway,
he had his linesman in, though, in fairness.
Exactly. He had his linesman there. He's got 2 umpires standing beside him.
He doesn't need to be there.
He doesn't need to be there.
But I'm wondering, because it happened twice, Donald, is it an instruction now that the referee has to be there? Now, he does seem to be in the way of, if there was a rebound from the keeper or off the post, players would be rushing in that situation.
If we got someone who never saw the game in their lives and said, what's the worst place that you could stand the referee in, I guarantee you it wouldn't be that far away from there. But just to add, that save from Callan was a special save. And that's one of the positives that have come out with this rule, which is really good, that goalkeepers will be able to show even more how good they are.
Well, I spent long enough standing beside a certain goalie who's now a top-class manager.
Jamie Fitz.
Yeah, he didn't want any of us in the goal with him. I tell you that. Get away. Stand back there, ye gluggers.
Did you ever save anything on his behalf?
In behind him a couple of times, but I never got credit for it.
All right then, well done to Galway. Let's switch our attention now back to yesterday's action in Croke Park. It was the finals of the Lorimar Nicky Rackard